And good morning, everyone. I am so pleased and privileged to announce and introduce Omkari Williams from New York City. She and I met back a few months ago at a leadership recipe, a retreat event in Macon, Georgia, of all places. And we connected in a beautiful way. And I really appreciated all the wonderful wisdom and advice and just insight she had for me at this event. And if you want to know more about that journey for me, it was written in my blog. But otherwise, I would love to introduce Omkari. Here she is. Hello.
Hi, Adera. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. And oh my God, I mean, that we actually met in Macon, Georgia is just the weirdest thing ever.
So I'd love to know what you got away, took away from that event that we were at.
Wow, that was such an amazing conference for me. I mean, it was really transformative in a lot of ways. One of the things that was interesting for me as a Black woman is often I'm one of one or two women of color at that kind of conference. And here, the balance was so much different. I mean, it was probably, 25% women of color, and that, which is more reflective of society. And that was an amazing experience because it meant that all of us, the women of color, the white women, the indigenous women, we were engaging in conversations that we probably would not otherwise have had. And it was so powerful. And I had such a sense of not only my connection to the other women of color in the group, but my connection to just the wonderful women who were there and how much we were able to learn from each other and push each other and struggle through some really challenging conversations, but ultimately just totally supporting one another, which is my vision for the society we live in.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It was some hard conversations. It was some heavy conversations, and we were able to all openly discuss them. And that doesn't happen often at these styles of events. Usually it's sort of the surface-y line, and we really dug in and got deep, and it was really beautiful to witness and experience that with so many different ethnicities and cultures representing.
It really was.
Yeah. And so that was so cool. So they told their stories. So you're in the business of storytelling and helping women primarily touch deep into their stories. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how important that is.
I actually think that literally every single thing in the world comes down to story. I mean, from the time we're small children till the day we die, what we're doing is communicating stories and explaining how we see the world. And one of the things I always tell people, and especially the women I'm working with, is story is mutable. Story is not written in stone. The things that happen to us, those are facts. How we hold those facts are the stories that we write. And we all do this. And it's why, two people will see something happen and they'll have very different interpretations. They're not lying. They just are putting their own understanding of the world onto what they see. And the cool thing about that is that it means that we can change stories that aren't working for us. We're not stuck in our stories. Our stories can evolve and shift as we evolve and shift. And that is the work I do with my clients, is helping them understand that and then be able to understand how to move their stories out into the world. Because our stories are really powerful. I believe that our stories, when we share our stories, we can literally change the world. Literally change the world.
I agree. And so we're either stuck in our stories and not sharing them, or
Yes.
we're letting our story run our life and realizing that that isn't the life we want to lead. So
yes,
it's kind of breaking those two out.
Exactly. Because our first tendency is to just hold everything inside and not tell anybody. Our second tendency is to, because we think that this story is the God's gospel truth, is to just stay there. And when you start to break that apart and recognize that, oh, no, this happened, but there are as many ways of interpreting that as there are that event, as there are people on the planet, all of a sudden you recognize that you can change your interpretation. You have enormous power. And that when you start actually sharing story with people, then you also realize something that I think is enormously important, which is we aren't alone. Our stories are unique to us, but our experiences are human experiences, and we share those across people, across countries, across ethnicities and religions. And to me, that's the piece where we can really make a difference, because those stories build bridges.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So I always had that saying too, like, I don't know how many people are on the earth at this time, something billion, but I always feel like there's that many worlds out there because we all carry our own version of what we're seeing, right, in our reality. And that's the most beautiful part, because you are right. We all share this same experience in a sense, or can relate to each other. And that's really how we're going to grow and evolve, right? Is if we're sharing experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the sharing that we recognize that someone on the other side of the world is not that different from us. Mm-hmm. It's in the sharing that we recognize that our pain and our struggle is universal. And that means that there is universal wisdom to help us and universal hands to hold us when we are struggling. We are not alone. And to me, when we're not sharing our stories, what we're doing is that we're making it impossible for people to really see us. And if you're not seen, you cannot be loved. You have to be seen to be truly loved. And that's a gift. Being seen and being loved is a gift, but it's also a gift we give ourselves by our willingness to share our stories.
Love it. So tell me the transformative experiences you've had and you've seen in the people that you've worked with once they've been able to sort of open up and be seen in that capacity. What shifts?
Yeah, wow. I actually was working with someone recently. We still work together. And she was leaving a long-term marriage, which was very difficult for her. But she recognized that her life had just gone in a different direction than her husband. And they're still good friends. But they were able to say, instead of having this be this nasty, horrible divorce, they were able to sit down and sort of share their stories of where they were and what they'd experienced together and what their vision for the future was, so that even though they were splitting up, there was still something that was keeping them deeply together. And that was going to be really helpful because they have kids and they didn't want it to be acrimonious or hostile. And being able to say, here are the gifts we gave each other and here are the places that we need to grow as individuals was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side of that, I've also had clients who were sort of estranged from a friend or a family member because of a story they had in their head about something that happened. And in sort of breaking that story down and looking at it from a different perspective, they were able to create space for healing with that family member or friend. They were able to say, you know what, I may not agree with your perspective, but I understand why you saw it that way. And the love that I have for you is more important than us agreeing about every single thing that's happened between the two of us in our lives. And so story's just powerful. I mean, you know, from learning how to tie your shoes, which is the story of, okay, make 2 little bunny ears with those laces, to your grandmother's marriage to your grandfather and all the stories that came there. We learn what we learn through story. And when we can connect to that, we are so much more powerful in this world. We are so much more connected in this world. We are so much more joyful in this world because we recognize that we're not just here alone.
It's right. We're not here alone.
Nope.
Well, Omkari, you're just such a beautiful speaker, and I really
thank you.
All your amazing wisdom and insight. I think too. So I was going to just briefly. I mean, we're kind of at the time, but I was just curious how story 2 plays into people's businesses. So can you?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll try and be really quick. But here's the thing: think about the products that you love. And the part of the reason you love them is because the story connects with you. So for instance, I'm a complete Mac user. Everything I use was created by Apple because their story of being creative and a little bit rebellious and just a little bit on the cutting edge really resonates for me. The people I know who use PCs religiously, the story of being sort of more business-like in a very specific way resonates for them. And that's true for me across the board with the products I really love. There's something in their story, and commercials are basically tiny little stories that resonates and lands. So when you're talking about your business and you're talking about story, finding the thing that is the kernel of what your business is about and using that to build your story, that way is the way you find people who are going to resonate with what you're into, what you're about, why you started your business, and so on.
Love it. I couldn't agree more. That's my profession. So yes. So Omkari and I are going to do something very special here in British Columbia, but until that time, you are welcome to go find her online. She is her name at .com, basically. So Omkari Williams, and she is just, as you can see, a beauty. So I really encourage you to find out how to dig deeper into your own story and how by sharing it will really light up your world. It just will. It'll just make everything that much sweeter, and it's a guarantee, really.
I can absolutely 100% agree with that. Sharing your story is this mind-blowingly freeing experience, and we need everyone's wisdom so that we can make the best decisions in our world. So get out there and tell us what you got.
Exactly. Yay. Thank you so much for coming on Adera Live. Okay, talk later.
Bye.
Bye.